only 2 games, but the one game that my numbers do like a little bit is South Florida catching 14 at Tulsa. I'm not sure where this Tulsa team is at mentally, not bowl eligible, kind of trending in the wrong direction, quarterback issues. South Florida interim coach, they fought last week, unfortunately didn't kick an extra point at the end of the game, decided to go for 2 down 18 and didn't get me the cover, but they look like they cared on the sideline. You've seen that a lot with teams with interim coaches. Heavy rush team that I think can have success running the ball here against a vulnerable Tulsa run defense. So might be the case where one team still kind of cares and the other one is kind of packed it in. There was a brawls last week in their game against Memphis. So yeah, I would lean the dog here, especially if you can get over 2 touchdowns. There's some quarterback uncertainty on both sides. So it's a line I'm monitoring. That's the only thing that I would look at for tonight.
Okay, that's a lean as of now for Stuckey. So what does it have to come down to? What does the line need to be if you're going to play it?
Yeah, I want to see who's starting at quarterback, get some injury news, and then if it was 14.5, then I would definitely play it then.
Okay, fair enough. How about Saturday? You've got a pick for Saturday that you do feel good about as of right now.
Yeah, we can actually I could leave the screen now. We can cut the video from last week's show when I gave my favorite pick for Saturday because it's the same exact one. Navy plus 15.5 plus 16. Again, the same exact line. It opened 17, came down to 15.5 for the same exact reasons, right? Navy's run defense is elite. They rank top 10 in the country in many categories. I think in the second half, they held Notre Dame at 12 yards total. That's what you need, though, a great run defense to shut down UCF. Everything is built off their run, starting with quarterback John Reese Plumlee. And this is just a service academy catching over 2 touchdowns, hit a 65% clip over the last 20 years. And it makes sense. Why? Limited possessions. The clock is bleeding. You can't just power rate. You can't line these games by just taking your power ratings. They play out so differently. It's also not a great spot here for UCF coming off 3 huge wins. They beat Cincy. They go on the road. They beat Memphis. They beat Tulane. They beat Tulane. And now they're in great position to go to the AAC title. They have, kind of an in-state rival on deck. Little sleepy spot. I think it's an 11 a.m. kick. Navy catching over 2 touchdowns all day.
Navy is getting most of the money and bet percentage, 74% of the bets, 88% of the cash coming in on Navy. And by the way, that's a big win for you for Tulane last night. So it makes that win for UCF that more impressive.
Yep.
Okay, Stuckey, good stuff. Catch Stuckey and the Big Bets on Campus Crew live tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, over in the Action app, Action, YouTube, and if Twitter still exists. Okay, Stuckey sticking around. Let's bring in Chris Raybon, who joins us. Hey, Chris, what's up? How are you?
Oh, no, just living fast like Todd Downing, chilling.
All right. You're always chilling.
Look it up.
I'll get there. Darren's coming up later in the show. He already gave me homework from earlier in the week, so I have a lot of catching up to do on my studies. These guys give you the NFL Sunday 6-pack every week. They have a podcast over on the Action Network podcast. They deliver their Sunday 6-pack, so good to have them here. They're going to reveal some of their picks. Raybon, why don't you get us started, please?
Yes, sir. Let's start with the Indianapolis Colts plus 6.5 at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I like this one for a few reasons. Number one, I think the matchup here actually favors the Colts given the spot for Philly. Philly is bottom 5 in run defense. And when the Colts inserted Jeff Saturday at coach, what did he do? He got the running game going and the offensive line looked a lot better. So I think he might've coached them up or something. I don't know, but the line looked a lot better. They're running the ball a lot better. And now you're facing a bottom 5 run D that played over 80 snaps, in total did that defense on that, now it's a short week for them. So a tough spot. And then you look at this season, when you're catching this many points in a game with a lower total, it's been almost an automatic win for an underdog. This year, when the spread is more than a field goal and the total is 47 or less, dogs are 46-19 against the spread. That's 71%. So I just think it's too many points for this Colts team that's 4-5, pretty respectable, mediocre team at home, laying over 6 here. So give me the Colts.
Jalen Hurts is just 5-10 against the spread in his career on the road since starting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously you're playing 6.5. You'd prefer a 7, no question, but Well,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
Yeah,
I want thoughts
with
on the
this
key
kind of
number.
with this kind of number, I think you like anything above 3.5 really, because
Okay.
it started at 7.5. That was way too high. So like that, I don't think you're getting that number back. If you do, I mean, great, but
Okay.
in today's NFL, you're missing extra points. Teams are going for it. The 7 is not what it used to be.
Okay, fair enough. Just wanted to double check. And right now on BetMGM, 6.5 available at Colts plus 6.5 at -105. Stuckey, your first pick in the Sunday 6-pack.
Yeah, let's go with the Dallas Cowboys here, laying 1.5 on the road at Minnesota. I think, look, Minnesota has been the luckiest team, even luckier than the Giants, which is saying something. But if you look at Football Outsiders estimated wins, any type of estimated wins, they're at about 4.5, right around mid-pack in the NFL. Cowboys are up near 7.5 wins. Any metric you look at, I don't care if you look at some, net yards per play, DVOA, anything you want to look at. The Vikings are an average team, and the Cowboys with Dak are a top 5 team. There's just a significant difference between these two teams. All the Vikings have done is they've just won 7 straight games by 1 possession. A lot of them very fluky, played some backup quarterbacks in there as well. They're second in the NFL in turnover margin. Last week's game against the Bills, they had I think a 0.5% post-game win expectancy, the second luckiest game in terms of post-game win expectancy since 2014. This team is just getting every break. And most importantly, I really like the matchup for Dallas here. They should be able to move the ball. There's a lot of questions on this Minnesota defense that ranks in the bottom 3 in the NFL and drives success rate. I think the Cowboys will be able to run it. They'll be able to throw it. There's also some injuries that Minnesota's dealing with in the secondary. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Dallas will be able to generate a lot of pressure and force Cousins into mistakes. The Vikings also might not have their starting left tackle, Darrisaw, who's been just an absolute stud this year, and that would be extremely problematic. But I think this sets up as a really good spot as well. Dallas coming off that overtime loss, Minnesota feeling good about themselves. And what do they have, like a 7-game lead in the division now, coming home to play the Cowboys? I think the Cowboys get this done on the road.
And their only loss is to the team in front of them, the Philadelphia Eagles. So that is why Philly has the tiebreaker right now in the NFC for the number 1 seed. We've talked about this a bit this week. Simon Hunter was on Dallas when the week began. Kirk Cousins, after a straight up win in his career, is 27-36-2 against the spread. Since 2017, 16-28-2 against the number. He is the least profitable quarterback against the spread after a win. So a lot of folks coming in on the Dallas Cowboys to bounce back after allowing Green Bay to stun them. Second pick, Raybon.
Let's go back to Pittsburgh here. Home dog again. They actually didn't close as a home dog last week. So Tomlin is still 15-3-3 against the spread all time when the Steelers are home dogs, which is incredible. But you have TJ Watt back, and that's what you need. Second divisional game, should be a close, low scoring matchup here. You're at home. You're still technically not completely eliminated. So I think you should be getting Pittsburgh's best effort. I thought they looked better coming out of the bye. And remember, Pittsburgh has played the toughest schedule in the NFL. Last week was the first time they played a team ranked outside the top 13 in DVOA when they played the Saints. So I think the perception's still a little warped with Pittsburgh. They match up well with Cincinnati. They're able to get pressure on that offensive line that gives up a ton of sacks. And, in the 3 games that Jamar Chase has played against Pittsburgh, Joe Burrow has looked his way constantly. They're averaging nearly 10 yards per attempt. And to everyone else, Burrow's averaging under 7 yards an attempt. So I still think there'll be a big efficiency drop off in that Cincinnati passing game. Pittsburgh's excellent against the run. So you're just hoping Pittsburgh can once again do enough on offense to keep it close here. But if you're getting over a field goal in this kind of game late in the year, I think it goes right into it. What I was just talking about with the Colts, low total game, getting over a field goal. That's been money over 70% against the spread this year. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3.5 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals.
You definitely got to mention Chase not being active for this game. It doesn't look good. He hasn't been practicing. He's not on IR, so he could, in theory, be activated. But in all likelihood, he's not. But Chris, It's a good point because I think folks are just saying, oh, well, Chase might not play. But also in the game, they did play each other, which Pittsburgh won week 1. He was targeted 16 times, had 10 catches, 129 and a touchdown. So
should have had 3 touchdowns, honestly. I mean,
the end of the
game.
You
watched that game, yeah.
Yep. It was a hell of a play at the end of the game. So, and it's the Mike Tomlin rah-rah spot after week 5, covering at a 71% clip when he is an underdog. Stuckey, what do you got for your second pick?
Yeah, with Watt back, it's just massive. And just to add on to that, by the way, I think Burrow is, since week 8 without Chase, he's averaging 3.9 yards per completion. That is 30th in the NFL. He was top 8 before then. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I don't get this line at all. I took them at 7, 6.5, 6. I would take them at 5.5, 5, 4.5. This line is wild to me. Earlier this season, they were catching 3.5 in Kansas City in a game they covered and should have won. They had about 3 dropped picks, threw another pick in the end zone, got extremely unlucky in that game. But this is a team that just matches up really well with Kansas City. Just look at the 5 meetings that Herbert has had with Kansas City. He's 4-1 against the spread. He's won 2 outright. His 3 losses were by 3, 3, and 6. That 6-point loss has been overtime. He hasn't been trailing by more than 3 at the end of regulation in any of the meetings with the Chiefs. These games are always close. Chargers run defense really suspect. They're down to janitors that they have to get off their staff to play defensive tackle at this point because they have no one left on their defensive line. But the Chiefs really struggle to run the ball this year, and they don't really. You're okay with the Chiefs trying to run it. Really good pass defense still. They can generate pressure on Mahomes, and they should be able to move the ball, and they should be healthier at receiver, which is huge here. On track to potentially get both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams back. Eckler should have a big day. These teams are going to trade scores like they always do when they play. Probably come down to the final possession. I'll take the Chargers and Herbert here, catching what I think is an inflated line. And if you're going to fade Mahomes, you do it when he's a favorite of over a field goal. He's about 28-31 against the spread.
Correct.
Under a field goal as a favorite or an underdog, he is just almost been free money. But
very good.
Give me the Chargers here.
In that spot, a favorite of 3 or less, 17, 5, and 1 against the spread, Patrick Mahomes. And that is not the case against the Chargers, which, as Stuckey mentioned, they met. That was the first Amazon Prime game of the season, and it gave us hope that slate would be great. And then it really kind of took a downward spiral. It's been better since, but yeah, that was a great first Thursday night game. Fellas, good stuff. Find the rest of Stuckey and Raybon's picks. They have a few more, but you have to find it over in the Action Network podcast, NFL Week 11 betting preview. May I add, Best Bets episode featuring Brandon Anderson, Jill Gallant, and Luke Swain, Vegas Refund. The Best Bets episode is also available on the Action Network podcast. Okay, let's bring in Darren Rovell. He joins the party. Hi, Darren. How are you?
I didn't know his name was Luke Swain. I thought it was really Vegas Refund.
Luke's been more present. He's been revealing himself as of late, so he's kind of okay with it at this stage.
Well, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, it's good. What would be your made up name if you had one?
Oh, I have many, but I won't reveal it here on Green Dot Daily.
Oh, mush. I like it. Stuckey from the rafters. Mush Rovell.
Stuckey's always from the rafters.
Yeah. All right. Stuckey had some thoughts on you being our college football NFL contributor, but you will give us a market report. What is going on in college football that you want to give us?
I think everything is square as you can imagine. Most bet games at BetMGM, TCU, Baylor, USC, UCLA, Illinois, Michigan, all of those lines seem wrong to people, right? Most bet teams in terms of tickets, TCU -2.5 coming off Texas versus Baylor. They look at the records, 10-0, 6-4. Michigan, people think they can beat Illinois by more than 17.5. And then LSU 14.5. Those are the most popular bet by tickets, teams, and games.
You said folks are on Illinois or they're on Michigan?
No, Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan.
Right.
Yeah. The 17.5 people think that Michigan will cover.
All right, cool. I'm curious, with these teams that are in the playoff discussion, I feel like the line, the odds makers have to be really dialed in to these spreads this time of year. Just how good are these college football playoff teams or teams that are on the cusp of being in the rankings? How about the NFL? What stands out to you?
I don't got anything good for the NFL, but I have
All
some.
right.
I have some picks if you want.
Okay. All right. Let's do that then. But before we do, let's just listen.
I believe this show was Green Dot Daily when Stuckey and Rovell were on, and Rovell said Texas -7. Stuckey's soul left his body.
I like Texas -7. As long as there's not a hook there, I'm okay. What do you think, Stuck?
You could see that man was just defeated from the fact that him and Darren have the same bet, and he was just getting regardless.
One.
All right. As you all may remember, not only did Texas not cover the 7-point spread, they lost outright to TCU 17-10 last week. So, Darren, I know you got an NFL pick for us momentarily, but we welcome back Stuckey and Raybon. They are, palms on face, SMHing at what transpired last week. So we now beg the question. It's been a challenging time, Darren, in your case. Are we fading Darren in week 11 in the NFL, whatever week it is in college football? I can't keep track. Week 12, week 13. Darren, you've got a pick. Why don't you give us your NFL pick first? Because Raybon then can unleash if he needs to.
Okay, I am doing the fade New York parlay. So we're doing Patriots -3.5 against the Jets and the Lions +3 against the Giants, +272 at BetMGM.
I don't like taking the Patriots there. The Lions, I don't mind. I think the Giants have gotten lucky. Wan'Dale Robinson's questionable, but you're getting the extra. You're laying an extra hook with the Patriots here. I mean, what confidence has Mac Jones really given you this season that he can perform against this defense for you to lay the extra half point? I don't like that. Just take the normal. You're always getting cute here. So I think you should have paid for to take the hook away at least.
Could it? Yeah, well, right. He could just buy a
time
half
is up.
point.
New York, New York.
All right, get me out of here.
Darren, I will say that, like, if I was looking at where I have those teams rated power ratings wise, like what is their record combined? Like, they have 5 total losses on the year, and I have them like 23rd and 24th, which is pretty wild. So yeah, they've both been fairly fortunate, but like Raybon said, I do think New England wins the game. But if anyone out there is watching, find a prop. New England by 3 exactly. That's what's going to happen here because of Rovell's 3.5. And just the 3 is always king, but especially in a divisional game with a total of 38. That 3 is so important. New England by 3. That's what's going to happen here. Darren mushed it.
Well, and there's no surprise that the public is coming in on New England. They've won 13 in a row against the Jets. Belichick has owned this team, and he's owned a first or second year quarterback, and that is
totally different Jets, though. I mean, they have a defense; anything can happen.
Yeah, but Chris, the quarterback still stinks. The quarterback is still terrible
on both sides. On both sides, Mac Jones.
That's true.
What do we? This new Mac Jones with Matt Patricia is not any much better than Zach Wilson.
True.
For the record,
Mac Jones is turning the ball over. It may not look as bad as Zach Wilson, but a turnover is a turnover. That is fair. All right, Darren, you got a college pick, so Stuckey can maybe not rip into you. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched Wisconsin, Iowa last week, and really was shocked at Wisconsin. I think they turn it around, and I'm even taking the hook there. 10.5, -10.5. The Badgers, Bucky over Nebraska in Lincoln.
I don't care. I'm very happy that you're betting this. I just didn't want you to bet any of the games I have. There's only so many Saturdays left. Your favorite bet is running to bet Wisconsin laying 10.5 on the road. No interest. Don't care. I hope you hit. Actually, I hope you don't hit. So the next time you're on one of my picks, you do hit. So you're due. But no feel here. I'm just glad you're not on something that I am.
See, it's not fade Rovell, it's shade Rovell. See,
early.
Yeah.
Money coming in on Nebraska. So you're fading the public, Darren. That's cool.
Nebraska's coming in the end of a lame duck. It's time to lose one more in Lincoln.
I mean, Stuckey, doesn't that play into what you said earlier, though, about teams kind of letting off a bit and maybe not fully caring?
Yeah, it's on a case-by-case basis. I think, there's still a lot of guys on that staff, on the team, still fighting for their job. The quarterback situation is what's worth monitoring with Nebraska, and they're just not very good. But it's on a case-by-case basis. Where was the team's expectations? Where do they stand now? Where have they been trending? And yeah, Nebraska certainly has fallen short of expectations. So, you could see them have a couple flat efforts to end the season. That's certainly not out of the question. But I don't think there's any blanket rule when it comes to college football. Like, all right, if the team's record is this and this, I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis, and it's more art than science. Nebraska is definitely a candidate that could just pack it in.
Wisconsin, though, obviously also a very disappointing season. I mean, Mertz was the first guy with the NIL saying, I'm getting an NIL deal, and now he throws 750, interceptions.
I mean, yeah, Mertz has actually had an okay season. I just wouldn't be rushing to bet this game at all. So again, but I hope that Nebraska covers on like a last second touchdown. So the next time Darren is on a game that I'm on, he's due to hit. So
no. I want Wisconsin at 10.5.
But I want Nebraska to score at the end to cut it to 10, and you don't cover.
I got it. Okay.
All right, we're all on the same page. Raybon, have you had enough? You want to get out of here? Yeah.
Okay. Get me out of here. I'm
okay.
Just listening to Darren pick games. It's rough.
All right.
Yeah, that's what they all say when I go 2-2 in games that we went head to head on. Okay,
2-2. Oh, what a record!
Okay, that's it. Chris Raybon, Stuckey, Darren Rovell, thanks for your time. Go enjoy your weekend. See you guys later. Okay, very good. That is always a good time on a Friday. I missed that last week. Marquee college basketball games, the latest here on November 18th. Great games today. I said this off the top of the show. It's a great time of year for college basketball fans. Non-conference tournaments that they play in these warm places. It's just so fun. Neutral sites. Indiana taking on Xavier. Money coming in on Indiana. Baylor and Virginia. So we got a battle of the Big 12 and the ACC. Money coming in on the Bears. UCLA, Illinois is a game later tonight. UCLA gaining traction. Tanner McGrath has a few picks.
What's up, guys? My name is Tanner McGrath. I cover college hoops here at the Action Network, and I'm here to give you a mid-major pick and a high-major pick for Friday's slate. Let's get into it. Starting off, I got a 1 p.m. game between Buffalo and Drake. I'm laying the points with Drake. It's currently minus 11.5 at BetMGM, and I'd play it up to about minus 12.5. Look, Drake has arguably the best backcourt in all of mid-major hoops. Roman Penn, Garrett Sturtz, DJ Wilkins, Tucker DeVries, they're all back to help clinch a Missouri Valley title. They also represent a massive mismatch over Buffalo on Friday. Buffalo is working on integrating an entirely new roster, but specifically a new starting backcourt consisting of 2 JUCO transfers. While they all came together and pulled off a miracle upset victory over Colgate on opening night, they were subsequently blown out by James Madison and UConn. The James Madison guards in particular just cooked Buffalo's backcourt. Buffalo's good at one thing and one thing only, that's forcing turnovers. But Drake's experienced backcourt's just not going to let that happen, especially after posting a 14-3 assist-to-turnover ratio against Wofford in a win earlier this week. So I'm laying the points with Drake's backcourt, and that cohesive unit is going to overwhelm the inexperienced Buffalo guards. For a second pick, we're going to look at that primetime matchup between the Baylor Bears and Virginia Cavaliers. That's at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. I have all the respect for Tony Bennett in the world. He's a coach that scares the life out of me, especially catching points. But I do not understand this line. Baylor's 3-guard lineup of Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, and Keontae George, the latter of which is the top recruit in school history. It looks the same as the same 3-guard lineup they used to win the title 2 years ago. Baylor is 4th in offensive efficiency behind those 3. And look, Virginia's going to play their pack line defense. They'll stifle opponents. They'll play really slow on offense. But this is the same Bennett team that lost 14 games a year ago, including the NIT quarterfinal. And let's not forget that Baylor runs a similarly successful defensive scheme. It's a no-middle scheme that is really aggressive, forces turnover, and has kept Baylor in the top 20 in defensive efficiency for 4 years running. The difference is that the Baylor backcourt can score with the best of them. And Scott Drew is a menace on neutral floors. He's 17-4 straight up and 14-7 against the spread on neutral floors over the past 4 seasons. I'm absolutely buying Baylor, so lay the 4.5 points with Baylor on Friday.
Good stuff from Tanner. We now transition from fun non-conference basketball to some sad news coming out of Qatar today. There will be no sale of alcoholic beverages on the FIFA Fan Festival and other fan destinations in Qatar for the FIFA World Cup. You can drink Bud Zero, however. So if that tickles your fancy and you are heading to Qatar, Anthony DeBundo, joining us now. He's one of our Wonder Goal podcast members. You can find him in the Action app. He's always in the soccer sphere. What is your reaction to this horrible news?
Yeah, one of the many terrible things that have come out of this Qatar World Cup in the background of what is supposed to be the best sporting event in all of the world. But, it's another reason that FIFA has dropped the ball once again and giving them the World Cup. But that's a conversation for another day, for sure.
What are the odds this changes? Do we have odds on them deciding to, flip this decision?
I don't have the odds on that, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was just a power play and that they end up changing course on it. But I don't know that there's going to be enough traveling fans to be mad about it.
True. So we can all come to your residence and watch soccer, bet on soccer, and you'll just take care of all of us because you're about to take care of us with your picks. So you're doing everything for us these days in the soccer world. What is your favorite World Cup future that you see on the board right now?
Yeah, so we'll go to outrights. My pick for the World Cup, it's been the pick for the last couple months, is Spain plus 850. Coming into this World Cup, traditionally form matters. How you performed in your last 5 to 6 matches has proven to be pretty predictive, and you can't win the World Cup if you come into the tournament in bad form. So you look at the last 5 matches, 5 teams that have performed the best: Brazil, Argentina, Spain, the Netherlands, and Uruguay. Those are the 5 teams that come into this tournament in the best form across the world. Of all the teams in Europe, I don't think there's a more complete one than Spain. You could argue they have the second most talented overall squad behind Brazil. And they had the best expected goal difference at the Euros last summer when they were a penalty shootout away from knocking out Italy, who went on to win the tournament the following match. And Spain, of course, was the better side in that match, won on expected goals, dominated possession, dominated the field tilt. So they were the better side. And I really think they don't have a ton of flaws. The biggest question mark is their striker situation. But when you look at their midfield, which is going to be one of the best of the tournament, the 2 teenagers combined with some veteran experience, their fullbacks, their center backs are very good. You do have the question mark. Will Alvaro Morata finish well enough to take his chances and lead them to the World Cup title? I think at plus 850, there definitely should be priced closer to Brazil and Argentina, who are the 2 favorites going into this tournament. They do have a tricky group, but if they don't win the group and do come in second, it actually could create a much easier path, with Brazil and Argentina likely on the other side of the bracket and having to face one another earlier in the tournament than the final. So it depends on how it plays out, but I think Spain will be there in the end. And at plus 850, it's a good price.
France plus 700, England plus 800 over at BetMGM. And like you said, Brazil, Argentina 1 and 2 respectively is the favorites to win the World Cup outright. How about your favorite long shot play?
Yeah, so there's a few things, from Golden Boot, Morata, 40, 50 to 1, correlated to Spain, of course. Pedri for Golden Ball. He's going to be the 19-year-old superstar midfielder for Spain. There's a few other players that kind of fit into that if you're looking into more player futures. My favorite long shot to win the entire tournament, Uruguay. They were 50 to 1. They've come down to about 40 to 1 now. You can still find them right around that. I mentioned the form table. We talk about form coming into the tournament. Uruguay's been in great form lately, and they were a major positive regression candidate going all the way back to qualifying. They had almost as good underlying numbers as Argentina, but they finished and barely qualified for the World Cup because their finishing was so poor. We know that finishing tends to go up and down and tends to be, kind of a matter of variance. And so if they run well at this World Cup, they're in a favorable group with Portugal, Ghana, South Korea. If they were to win that group, they would get on the other side of the bracket. Like I mentioned, you have the potential here for the Netherlands, Argentina, Brazil, and then either Spain or Germany to all end up on the same side of the bracket. And whoever ends up on the other side with France and England potentially could be Uruguay in this situation. I think France and England are a little bit more vulnerable. And so I think that's the side where you could see a team make a deep run, and that team could be Uruguay. So at 50 to 1, 40 to 1, I like Uruguay. I think it could be, long shots don't typically win the World Cup. Typically you have, 6, 7, 8 countries that have a real chance at it. But if there's one team outside of the big favorites in Europe and the 2 big South American teams, it is Uruguay. Who's my favorite long shot?
Group play begins on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Host Qatar taking on Ecuador. What is your lean right now? You're based on what you're going to have for us here in a second. Just looking at the Action app here, money coming in on the host country.
Yeah, absolutely. Ecuador was right around plus 100 on the three-way money line. So you could have gotten Qatar at, plus a half. So that's to win or draw at like minus 120, 125, 130. That's been steamed up considerably in the last week or so. And that was before the report yesterday about the potential nefarious match fixing that could or could not go on at this event. But the money did come in on Qatar before that even news came out. Ecuador sitting plus 130, plus 140. Now you have to pay about minus 175 for Qatar to win or draw. I think that price is about right now. It's come into range where I wouldn't necessarily play Qatar anymore. If you did like them, I would prefer the money line to the plus a half, just because you're laying major juice. Both teams, it is the first game of the World Cup, but both teams kind of need to win, given that Senegal and Netherlands are the two top, favored teams in this group. So this is kind of a situation where you have to go for it a bit. So Qatar plus 225, plus 230. You're not getting the best of the number anymore, but if you really want action on the first game, that's where I'd go. From a matchup point of view, Ecuador came in very fortunate to get here. Underlying numbers were not that impressive in qualifying. Qataris had the last 3 months off. They've just been training and preparing together for the World Cup. It's a big advantage, of course, being at home as well. So there are some advantages for Qatar, even if they don't have quite as much talent in this game. So I would lean toward them in the first match. And then Monday is when the U.S. will take the field. So very exciting start. Best tournament, best event in the world. It's going to be great.
Anthony DeBundo, you can find him in the Action app for all of his World Cup picks. He will be active during, for those of you that celebrate, Thanksgiving week. DeBundo, and if you're in New York, you can find DeBundo. He will supply all of the Bud Zero you need. Thank you. I'm glad he did not dispute that. He basically agreed to it. So thank you to Anthony DeBundo. He is a man of the people for World Cup pleasure these days. All righty. As a reminder, follow us in the Action app for picks from the show. We have an account dedicated to the show at green.daily. All picks from the show during the week are there. So Sunday 6-pack picks are put in the doc. Also DeBundo's World Cup picks. They are all logged there at green.daily. Big weekend ahead, as we tend to mention on Fridays. Our show concludes after the weekdays are done. But coming up on Saturday, we mentioned this earlier with Stuckey, Big Bets on Campus is live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday, you've got the Power Hour starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So you can watch the World Cup and you can watch Convince Me with the NFL crew. And that leads right into the touchdown show moments after with Jill Gallant. He picks anytime touchdown scores over the course of the Week 11 Sunday slate. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes for their work, not just today, but all week. All of our contributors this week. I'm Brendan Glasheen. Green Dot Daily returns on Monday at noon Eastern. We're excited to get you ready for what would be a Thanksgiving slate in the NFL. Plenty to get to next week. You all have a great weekend. Best of luck. Get some green dots, and we'll see you on Monday.